much. Tania Raymonde,
All
lovely to
right.
meet you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm coming at you from the future, so it is, 17 hours ahead. It's
Yeah,
pretty.
where are you in Melbourne?
No, I'm closer to Sydney. Yeah, I'm on the Central
Sydney.
Coast, so it's sort of like just north of Sydney. The ocean, Pacific, the Pacific Ocean's like just here.
So is it winter time now for you?
It is winter, yeah. So I'm very jealous.
Cool.
Do you surf, by the way?
I've taken a couple, not really. I've like dabbled here and there. I grew up near the beach though. I grew up in Venice here in LA, so I really have no excuse. I should be a surfer girl.
Maybe a surfer girl or a break dancer, or do you lift weights at Venice Beach?
Yes, all the time. I'm a bodybuilder, obviously.
Well, I can see that.
Yes.
Firstly, I want to focus on a new movie that's just been released in Australia called Walden. You
Yeah.
play a police detective in it. I've seen it twice now because I always like to watch movies twice before I speak to someone who's appeared in it. You're quite a balanced and well sort of layered character in it. Did you do any kind of research or detective sort of work before you got the role?
I'd played like cops before on TV and in other projects, but I'd never been a full-blown detective. I guess people didn't take me seriously enough for that until this movie, so I was like happy to assume that mantle. I mean, I'm a big fan of like you put like police thrillers, like just as like a genre, and the plotting of like that kind of movie, like a suspense thriller with cops in it. I grew up on all those movies, like Silence of the Lambs, and just
Yeah.
thinking about like great cop performances, like hunting down serial killers. So I was happy to like participate in that canon. We didn't really do too much in the like serious cop sort of paraphernalia type things, so we weren't too concerned. It was more about building relationships, and the movie is kind of a Southern Gothic sort of police
Sort of.
thriller, more so than like a cop thing, I would say. So we were
Yeah.
kind of off the hook for all the, you know, very detail oriented cop work.
Most of your scenes are with co-star Shane West.
Yeah.
Did you do any singing with him, in between takes?
No, but that's right. He played what's his name from the Germs. He's even got a like a what we do secret tattoo, cool tattoo on him. He's a super nice guy. I didn't really know him until we met for the movie, but you know, we had to kind of develop like a rapport very quickly, like cop to cop, which was really fun for us to
Yeah.
figure out like kind of our characters together. And he's like a down home sort of southern dude from Louisiana, so I sort of kind of like took my cues from him, but it worked out.
Well, it worked out. You both had pretty good chemistry on screen.
Thanks. Yeah, he's cool. I enjoyed working with him.
What about the role itself? Did you have to audition? Do you still go through an audition process, or are you, well enough known now that sometimes you can bypass that?
I mean, it depends on the project, but yeah, I audition all the time. I mean, I'm like happy to, you know. I think
Yeah.
that especially now, it's like so easy to make a video for something that you really have no excuse. Like I think back in the day, you could say, "Oh, I'm not available, just offer it to me." But now it's like, "Oh, just make a video on your iPhone. What are you so busy for?" But this, I'm friends with the casting director who had known me from other things. She cast me in. Her name's Shannon McCanyon, and she sent the script my way and asked if I was interested. And then I just had a Zoom with Mick Davis, the director, and we
Yeah.
got along well, and it kind of happened like that. But you know, some projects aren't that way at all. Sometimes you just have to go through the traditional way of auditioning. Kind of just
Yeah.
depends on the project.
Do you, let's say since COVID, are you finding it a little bit easier to find projects, or has it completely changed the way you pick up a job?
Uh, I don't think it's easier. I mean, I think everything got harder after COVID, definitely. Well, just less
Yeah.
projects are being made. They're a little more uh it's more competitive in a sense because there's more attention spent to the budget and things that are greenlit, so there's less work kind of in
Yeah.
general, and everything is done still remotely, even though, you know, COVID, the COVID protocols are still in place for casting
Mm.
post COVID. So that makes it a little more disorienting, but I guess, you know, you just have to like adapt or die. That's sort of the way.
Well, you've never stopped working, Tanya. Like, so you've adapted, obviously. I've been spotting you in stuff for years, not just movies, but TV. So that's a good thing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Fingers crossed it keeps going. I mean, it's a very, very, very fun job. It's kind of an addicting sort of career, and it's sort of pernicious too, because the more you do it and the more success you have, the more you want to do, and the more difficult it is to have time off in between projects.
Yeah.
And it's just such a blessed career when you get a chance to do it, that you really miss it, when you have time off or when you're sort of in between projects. And so I understand why some actors go crazy. You have to find ways to pace yourself in between and
Oh, for
explore
sure.
other avenues of interest. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, no, that's a good point. If you weren't acting, what kind of career do you think you'd be doing?
It's very hard for me to answer that because I've been doing this since I was like 12 years old. So I
Yeah.
can't imagine any other field like with any kind of like seriousness. Although I have other skills,
That's good.
like for example, like I'm not yeah, that's good. It is good. I think I would have liked to. I mean, like medicine's interesting to me. Like I have a very high tolerance for gore and like surgical things, blood and guts. Like that stuff doesn't freak me out. I find it kind of interesting. Maybe I
Yeah.
could have been a doctor. I'm not very good at. I mean, I have a pretty good work ethic. I could have done that. Yeah, I think. But I acting is, you kind of get to play pretend at every single profession if you do it long
Mm,
enough as an actor, which is really nice.
mm.
And the great thing about this business is there are many facets to sort of explore your other talents in terms of writing and producing, if that's of interest to you as an actor, that maybe you wouldn't have as easy access to if you never acted before. So
Yeah.
so I'm lucky at least that I'm in the right environment. Plus I live in LA, like I might as well
It's
keep
all
going at
happening in
this.
LA.
What else am I gonna do? Yeah,
Well, I'll ask you. I'll ask you a bit about your directing effort, Bad Art, shortly. But just a little bit
sure.
more on Walden. Emile Hirsch is the lead in this. He's
Yeah,
totally remarkable. I think it's a really unique role for him. How have
yeah.
you worked with him before, or did you know him? Before
No,
the
oh, I knew. I mean, I'd seen him in many things, and I was a
yeah
fan of his work, and but was like very, very impressed at like how dedicated and seriously he took this, and also how many chances. Like there was something like there's like a Truman Capote-esque aspect to his character impersonation that was like really not on the page at all. I think that was 100% his
okay
own idea, which it's like it's wonderful to encounter an actor that does something that surprises you that you don't see on the page. You just don't see it very often.
yeah
And he's very gifted. I mean, I've seen him. He can kind of do anything. I think it's pretty apparent now at this point, and I don't think he's afraid of taking chances either in the projects,
no,
the kinds of movies he makes, the projects he chooses. I think, yeah, it was awesome to watch him work. It's wonderful to
yeah
see a person who takes it that seriously.
yeah. He seems like even in recent years he's been taking more risks, but he's always been a unique actor with different roles. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, he's very good. He's very good. It would have been certainly a different movie with somebody else in it. That's for sure.
So Detective Sally in Walden is definitely well dressed, and she has momentum.
Certainly, lots of black.
Was that you? Did you suggest the wardrobe, or did that all come in as part of the character?
I think that no, God, what was his name? I can't remember. The Our costume designer was a really lovely fellow. He They had a lot of great ideas. It's also a small budgeted movie, so we didn't have a
Yeah,
lot available to us. I think they did a pretty great job, how considering how quickly we shot it, and it was an indie film after all.
sure.
It's hard
Well,
to make everything look good. Yeah.
I'm an advocate for indie films, so I love supporting good quality filmmaking by people who are dedicated, on and off camera. And Walden is quality. You can't even tell it's indie. Everything was on screen.
Yeah, yeah, and we shot in some creepy, creepy little towns in the South, and not creepy. They were actually very charming, but coming from LA, you know, it's definitely exotic for me to go to these kind of like, you know, small town America, kind of Main Street sort of towns. There's something really lovely about it. It's another nice thing about being an actor. You're sort of like a traveling actor, you know, for hire. You get to explore this like awesome country I live in that like I don't, you know, that I haven't even seen myself personally. So it's nice.
Did you create any kind of backstory, or do you think that your character in Walden would maybe a spin-off movie of her own, you know, on the beat?
I mean, you know, I think, you know, what I found most interesting about this and the reason that I wanted to do it beyond just the cast, you know, I really wanted to work with Kelli Garner. I was always a big fan of hers. I love her and everything. Yeah. And so she and I have become friends, and she's a lovely person. And I love Shane and Emile. I've seen in so many things. And so I was just excited to be on set and to watch them work, you know. And then beyond that, like I didn't know much about stenographers, but I learned a lot, and I found it to be kind of like an interesting profession and a funny one for a movie. Like I'd never seen a movie about a murderous stenographer before. So so I love that, you know, and I think it's pretty unique. I don't think there's been one since then that I know of.
No, not that I'm aware of. That you've sort of taken my next question away. Like stenography is such a different occupation, and it is a great plot for a story, what Emile's character does. But what about you? Do you think you could be a stenographer? How many words can you type a minute?
I'm pretty good. You know, in like as a kid growing up, we had like a computer sciences class, computer class, and we'd have to type a certain amount of words per minute in order to pass. I'm pretty good, actually. Yeah. As long as I don't have like super long acrylic nails on, then I can type pretty fast.
Yeah. Well, you'd have everything natural, right? Natural eyelashes, natural nails.
No. What? That's so boring. I'm so over this natural shit. No.
Oh, okay.
I think we're in the post-natural era.
Deep Blue Sea 3, it was a very physical film for you, I would assume. Is that something you look for in a character, to do something a little bit outside the box sometimes? No, it was a good sequel, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. We shot that in Cape Town, South Africa.
South Africa,
I learned to dive for that movie. I'd never dove before, so we had to get certified for that. And all of the diving and swimming and most of the stunts underwater, for the most part, we did all that stuff for real, either in big water tanks or out in the ocean. It was also winter time, similar to you guys, in Cape Town while we shot, so it was freezing cold the whole time.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of like really interesting physical challenges that made the whole thing more fun. It was also a beautiful set that was all hand built. It kind of looked like Waterworld. They had built this like sinking set that was to be blown up like in the last third act of the film. All that was done for real. So it really felt like backlot Universal Studios, like movie magic kind of stuff. It was great fun. Yeah, I love that. I want to make another one.
Look, shark exploitation is a thing, and you'll be asked back. You'll be asked back for sure.
I agree. I think yes.
I was
gonna make another one. I think
it caught my eye because I agree. I love the movie Waterworld, and that island. I was going to ask you, was it made for the film? And you're telling me it was. It was all a set. It's pretty cool.
The whole set was built. It was like a big working set with moving pieces built in a parking lot outside of the studio outside Kailicha in Cape Town.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was built on these, they were like pneumatic pumps, like big tectonic plates underneath each portion of the set that would shift the set and move it and then sink it at the end of the movie, blow everything up. And this was, it's a Warner Brothers film. I guess it's a sequel with a name, but it was also kind of shot like an indie. Yeah. I mean, we didn't have like a huge budget like most kind of studio movies do. So I thought they did a great job. I love that movie.
In the movie, you punch a shark, and there's a famous Australian surfer called Mick Fanning. He was in South Africa actually during a surf contest with a shark, and he punched it and then came back into shore. You heard,
yeah.
So you're kind of story. Like related to what we do in Australia.
But I think it's like a defensive technique, right? I mean, it's one way to get them off of your tail, is it not?
Yeah, no, that's true. I'm glad you heard that story. So what you do in the movies actually happened in real life.
It's so wild. Well, when we
I know.
shot it, there were obviously no real sharks,
No, no,
unfortunately.
no, no.
Although some actors do deserve it, I would say. Or but so
Yeah.
we would act with like little tennis balls. So the
Yeah.
cameraman would have like a little tennis ball on a stick, and that was most of what we acted with when we were like interacting with sharks underwater. So it was kind of like a cool choreography in that regard.
Is acting a tough job? I mean, we've sort of discussed it a little bit with physical side of it, but what about getting into accents and into different characters? Do you find it hard?
I mean, I think doing anything well is hard. Yeah. Yeah. But it's rewarding.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, but just because something's hard also doesn't mean it's good. I mean, there've been some projects that I found like incredibly challenging while I was shooting, and almost certain they would come out to be a complete disaster, and been very, very pleasantly surprised. Other times it's been like the easiest job in the world in which I was 100% sure that it was going to turn out to be a masterpiece, and it was not. I mean,
Right.
we're very bad judges of our own abilities, I think, but it's a strange career. It's a weird one because it's not very reliable, and there's nothing automatic about it. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but you always have to
Yeah.
take chances. So it's an interesting, yeah, it can be hard, certainly.
I've got to say that I saw Dirty Lies, right? A movie you did, and that turned out okay. I'd never heard of it
Yeah,
until recently. Yeah,
thanks.
that turned out okay. And you had a happy ending too, spoiler alert, which is
There
good.
was a happy ending, and those guys were real nice. I made some friends on that movie. I mean, that was a long time ago.
Yeah,
I mean,
2017.
yeah, my gosh. I mean, listen, I mean, you want to try and do the best work you possibly can, but
Yeah.
you never really know what something's going to turn into, and also who's going to discover something that's going to touch them
Yeah.
later on down the line, which is kind of a nice thing about streaming, is that you could speak to somebody in 10 years, maybe. It all tends to blend together after a while, though.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. But do you have any projects from your career that is a highlight, something you're really proud of? I mean, I'm
Yeah,
assuming Lost
sure.
in some ways, but
Yeah, of
say
course.
outside of Lost, any projects that you always tell people, oh, I love this, or you were great to be part of?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always most obsessed with the most recent thing I worked on. I don't even remember what it is now, but I think yes, Lost was like a formative project for me, certainly. I kind of grew up
Yeah,
on that
yeah,
show, and it was like a dream come true show and really like high caliber work.
yeah,
Um, I loved working on Goliath. I just made so many great friends there, and working with Billy Bob is really like truly unparalleled. And Larry Trilling was the showrunner on that, and like a
yeah,
very gifted filmmaker. And just overall, those 4 or 5 years were a real pleasure for me. I'm very proud of the work. But
yeah.
Deep Blue Sea was great too. And there are other shitty movies I've been in that I like. I still, you don't need to name them. There have been a few, but like not too many. But that I the hold dear to my heart too, just because of the friendships I've made on them. And you know,
Well, Goliath, I'll just start with Goliath, was a brilliant show. And Billy Bob just had his birthday. I think it was yesterday. So
is
happy
that right?
birthday. Yeah, happy birthday, Billy Bob. And I know this because
Wow.
I'm friends with Lauren Tom, who's also been
Oh,
she was
Lauren Tom, of course.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah. So Lauren was in Goliath, and Billy and
that's
her
right.
knew each other from Bad Santa. So
Yeah.
and they have the same birthday, which is pretty cool, which was yesterday. Yesterday your
Yeah.
time, I think it was.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Lauren played like the barfly in season three. Season three,
Something along those lines. Yeah.
I think. Or season
Yeah.
four? Season I can't remember. Yeah. It might have been
Yeah.
the Chinatown season. I don't know. Yeah, she's wonderful.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. Really cool actor. And well, so is Billy Bob. So, but you never brought up Texas Chainsaw. And I actually saw Texas Chainsaw, the one you were in 3D last year
Yeah. Oh
in a,
yeah.
in a Sydney theatre. It was a 3D film festival. And I'm going to tell you, I'd seen it before, but it's a whole new experience. I enjoyed it. I still, I will give it the
Yeah.
benefit of the doubt. I liked it.
I haven't seen a 3D movie in a long time, probably since Texas Chainsaw. Um,
Yeah.
it was so cool at the time. It was like a big deal to be in a 3D movie. I mean, I think it was like a 4 year period around when our movie came out, when everything was in 3D pretty much.
That's true.
Now seems to, but I think it could come back. Or 4D, whatever that means. I don't know what 4D is, but maybe that's the next thing.
Some movies still get released limited in 3D, like the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. You could see that in 3D. I think Marvel films and so forth, but yeah, it's not really a thing. But I just wanted to tell you, at least I like Texas Chainsaw. I thought it was okay.
Thank you. I'm sure you're not the only one. Come on, give it a little bit of credit.
Yeah. What about your directing? I found it really hard to find bad art to watch.
I know, because it never got released, unfortunately. Thank you.
You're welcome. How did that come about, though? Are you going to direct again, write and direct again?
Yes. I write a lot. So, I wrote a pilot recently that we're making now, and I've always been like very interested in writing, and it's been a big passion of mine ever since I was a kid. And bad art, I mean, it's just another example of a project that kind of unfortunately didn't get to see the light of day for like a myriad of reasons, but was still like a wonderful opportunity. And I'm very happy about the lessons I've learned. But I think I have a lot of stories to tell, or just writing and directing in general has always been like a big passion of mine, So I'm working on that now.
And is bad art ever going to get released? When can I watch it?
Maybe. I mean, went to a couple film festivals, and it premiered I went to Japan with it. It premiered in like the world competition program at the festival there, and then got into a bunch of festivals here nationwide. And then there were some issues, but I worked with Sarah Winter on that. It was one of the actresses who was on Goliath, and Josh Stamberg, who's awesome, and he's a Rohrig, who is a Cannes Award-winning actor from Son of Saul. It's like a very, very cool. Mark Young, who's a friend of mine from Dirty Lives, who plays a very funny character in it. Maybe it will come out one day.
Well,
it's not really up to me, but maybe one day. But doesn't matter. It'll be part of my retrospective on Criterion at some point.
Yeah, maybe a Tania Raymonde's retrospective, and that can be like top billing.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you find different challenges when you're acting on TV as opposed to a movie? Do you have preferences or the challenges, the differences?
It seems like the better writing is on television, or at least it's easier to have access to better writing on TV, simply because there's more of it. And you get to carry a character from episode to episode. So inevitably you're going to get a little more depth, I've had great experiences on movies, but for the most part, if I'm being honest with myself, probably my best quality work has been in TV, which is fine. And it seems like that's the trend anyway. I would think it's a wonderful kind of pleasure to be able to play a character over the course of a season or multiple seasons. You find out things about the person you never even really knew yourself. And it's nice to kind of grow with the rest of the cast. There's something sort of tragic and melancholy about a movie because it's over after a month or two anyway. And then that's that. So there's something sad about it in a sense. It's sort of nice to be able to have the hope that you're going to continue on for another season. So I prefer that.
To remember roles, do you ever take anything from set or keep sort of trinkets and things as a collectible, or not really? You just let it go and move on to the next project?
Sure, certainly. What did I keep? Anything of note, really?
Okay.
I can't, to be honest. I've never if I work on a Marvel movie or something one day, soon, hopefully, I will definitely take something cool, like something like a bracelet from a costume or something.
I don't know if they'll let you. Security's pretty tight on Marvel.
I know, you're right. I never remember to. I think everyone's always so wrapped up in the thing being good that you never remember to bring anything with you from set. I definitely steal socks from wardrobe department all the time.
Okay.
Hair ties, hairpins, those kinds of things. They come home with me.
You sort of have played a superhero. There was a CSI episode there where you had a guest appearance and you were a somewhat superhero. So you've done a little bit of practice.
Exactly. I'm ready.
I've got to talk. I hope you don't mind. I've got to talk about Alex Rousseau. You come into
Sure.
that. You come into Lost in season 2, but then you're in multiple episodes right up until the end. Were you on call? Did you know? Were you sent? Did the producers send you like the script? Did you know where your character was going, or just start at the
Especially
beginning?
not
How did you get the
as
role?
it was. I just thought. I mean, I auditioned for a character that didn't even have a name at that point. I mean, it was like so hush hush that
Yeah,
nobody knew anything about it. I
yeah,
didn't know that I would be Danielle Russo's daughter, or that Ben would be my adopted father. And
yeah.
I was actually on set on Lost in the trailer on Michael Emerson's first day or second day of his first episode,
Oh
in
wow.
which Michael was playing a character named Henry Gale that was
Yeah,
only supposed to be on the show for 2 episodes. And he'd gotten, I think in his first episode, he gets tangled up in some kind of a parachute that crashes onto the island or something. I can't remember. And we were both in that same episode, essentially in Hawaii at the same time. So I remember knocking on his door and saying, "Hi, I'm Tanya." And he's like, "Oh, hi, I'm Michael." I said, "I play a character. I think my name is Alex, but they haven't given me a name yet." And he says, "Oh, I play a character named Henry, but I'm only going to be here for like 2 episodes." And I said, "Oh, okay. Do you want to go get sushi?" So we had sushi together that first night or second night. And yeah, and then it turned out that he was my dad, I was his kid, and we'd be on the show for multiple seasons. So no, we had no idea. It was a very, yeah, very secretive one.
were you like? Was it a contract? Did you have to be prepared when they called you, or did you know enough time in advance that you'd keep popping up over each season?
Yeah, I mean, you always hope, but there's no guarantee, you know? I mean, like
Yeah,
I didn't, none of, for example, like in the scene, when it came our time to die, right? Because everyone eventually has like a death scene on Lost. Like they
yeah.
wouldn't really let any in advance, not by much. So it always came like I was kind of a surprise, and you'd always wonder, "Fuck, is it my time? Am I next?" You know. Um, but yeah, if I recall, no, there really wasn't. I mean, you get booked maybe a couple episodes in advance, but it was pretty last minute. It was just the episode to episode. I'd fly back and forth between Hawaii and LA
Yeah.
all the time. It was awesome.
Well, see, you could have flown to Australia. I mean, that's only about
Yeah,
8 hours. I think it's about 8 hours from Hawaii.
yeah, I know. I've been to Australia. I've been to Sydney and
Oh,
Melbourne, and yeah, I've traveled a little bit.
oh, I didn't know that. So you've been down under and you can't
Yeah,
surf.
I can't. I know I can't. Well, I mean, I could
Yeah,
if I
yeah, yeah.
really, if I could pretend in a movie. That's all.
To finish on Lost though, this year is the 20th anniversary since it premiered. I mean, it would have gone quick for you, I assume. And how do you feel about that? The legacy that new generations are now watching it and getting into it.
That's wild. So they're doing a documentary about it that
Okay.
they interviewed all
Yeah.
of us for. That's coming out. I think the premiere date or when it gets released is going to be the 20-year anniversary to the day.
Yeah, that's October.
And yeah, so we were kind of like reflecting on it and talking about it. And for the first time in a long time, since it premiered, I can't believe it's been that long. It's crazy. I can't believe how influential the show was just from a like stylistic point of view. If you look at everything that came afterwards, it's
Yeah.
also nuts that that was on network TV. Not to disparage network TV at all, but just in terms of like before streaming, beginning of the internet, beginning of message boards, beginning of
Yeah.
spoilers, all that shit was new. I
Yeah.
mean, Lost was kind of the first show where all those kinds of that all started popping up around it. So it's all a given now with like current culture. But back then it was like very novel. So it was
Mm,
really like a weird cultural phenomenon. But like when you're in it, you don't really even understand what it is. And I think it was the same for
of
every actor
course.
that was on that.
Yeah.
Um, but so many shows have copied Lost since then. Like there have been so many
Mm.
look-alike Lost shows that have been. Some of them are great. But I every time I watch scenes from it, every once in a while, they still stand up. And that was the last project I ever shot on film.
Is
Was the
it?
last season that I was on Lost. Yeah, so that was
Oh,
2000. I don't know when did it end. 20
it finished in
2009,
2000 and maybe nine, something like
2010, 2009. Yeah, that was
yeah,
the last
something
time
like that.
I worked on film. The whole show was shot in film.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was remarkable. It was cinematic, and I remember it was big in Australia because quite a lot of Australian actors appeared in it.
Yeah.
So it was big everywhere. So you're part of that legacy, and I appreciate you sort of recalling a bit of it. Did you make a really good friend on set that you used to hang around with? Maybe Josh or anyone? Or I was
I
talking to
loved all those
Matthew
guys.
Fox. Matthew Fox is fantastic. I've had a chat to him, and
He's
he
so
has some
good.
great stories on Josh.
All of those. I mean, I thought the performances on that show are so wonderful. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, even starting from beginning from the pilot episode. I mean,
Mm.
Evie, Josh, Matthew. Like, I was so admiring of all these guys' talent. I was also a kid, you know, so I was kind of intimidated. I must have been like 17 years old when I started. I was much younger than everybody else on there, you know, and not much, but pretty young. And so it was, I will say that in spite like everybody worked their butts off. Like it wasn't like an easy show to shoot. And
Yeah.
there are a lot of like physical challenges to making it. And the actors worked like very, very long days, and the crews did too. But there was like a very wonderful Hawaiian spirit about the whole thing that sort of
Sure.
contributed to its magic. Yeah, I don't think in terms of like, it felt like, yeah, I don't know if I've had a comparable experience since then, and for a million different reasons. You know, there's something very obviously really special about it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
it's wild. I can't believe it's been so long. It's crazy. Crazy.
Uh, and things have changed. Before we wrap up, a couple more questions. Things have changed over the years. And like you said, you've been acting since you were 12. Uh, has movies like Still Waiting or Wild Cherry, two movies that you're in, would you think they'd get made now? I mean, things have changed. Do you think that that kind of wild comedy is something that is still appropriate or would get made, do you think? Or is it too politically
Um,
correct now when it comes to
I
Hollywood?
don't know. I mean, it just depends on if what you're making is good. Like, I think Still Waiting and Waiting has a lot of merits. You know, I mean, it just
Yeah,
think about the raunchy comedy version of The Bear, which is essentially what it was. I
yeah,
find it very funny. You know, the tip like the American Pie sex comedy. I think it's just about finding innovative ways to make those kinds of movies. I think there's always a place for comedy. I think
yeah.
there's actually like a huge lack. Even slapstick broad over the top comedy is like wonderful if it's well made.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to do, it's hard to write, and a lot of people don't really go for it. But like I've seen some, yeah, we're a little more politically correct, I guess, but there's always like a way to carve out something that could be subversive and
Mm.
not offensive and still funny. It's possible. I mean, what
Oh,
do I know? But I would say, yeah.
oh, you know a lot, and trust me, it's really intriguing hearing you say this because as a movie analyst and journalist, I'm for it, even if it's distasteful, but if there's a reason for it, not just
Yeah.
for the sake of it. And I'm okay with comedy. It doesn't always work, but yeah, I don't think things should be completely sanitized, to put it that way.
It's just, I mean, it depends on what you find funny, but you know, you're going to kill a certain amount of humor. Yeah. Yeah, I
Mm.
think I'm not saying that these examples we're bringing up are like particularly great, but I mean, like, what could we use as that? I mean, people still watch American Pie, and I don't think they're like think it's sexist or offensive. I mean,
No,
perhaps
no.
maybe some people do, but I
Yeah, no,
mean,
I
there's still a
absolutely.
place for, yeah, you
Absolutely,
know,
yeah, I totally agree.
or
How
look
have
at what
you?
like
Yeah,
what's his name? Oh, never mind. Anyway, go ahead.
no, tell me
Couldn't give
who.
an
I'll be able to
example.
tell you who it is.
I can't. No, I can't
Okay.
remember where he's from. Is he Australian? What's his name? The actor, Chris Lilly, who made Summer Heights High.
Oh, he
Is he
is
Australian?
Australian. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a perfect example of like broad, subversive, awesome. I mean, but that was a while ago too, so I don't know. Maybe you'd have trouble making that now. Probably, actually.
Yeah, I think he would. It's been brought up in the past, actually. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
it would
wonder.
be. Your opinion on Walden? Like, why should people watch it? It's just been released on digital platforms, and you can even buy a physical copy on DVD if you want to. Why should people
Cool.
watch it in your opinion?
I think it's a really juicy, the kind of police thriller set in a small town. There's something kind of Southern Gothic about it. I think there's some great performances and a very, very surprising one by Emile Hirsch. And a very kind of unconventional killer anti-hero. Did I give it away? At the center of the story that like I don't think we've seen in a film before. So I'd say just on the performances alone, I would his especially, I would say it's totally worth it. And it's kind of bloody and gory and shocking. So you have a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and you never know. There might be like a spin-off with Detective Sally Hunt. You never know, right?
Yeah. We screened it for the Association of Stenographers in LA, and it was a big hit
Yeah,
because no one ever made a
right.
movie about them. So yeah, it was
Well,
good. It
you
was a good
made
time.
you look. I'm not surprised because it is as we said, it's sort of like a subject that doesn't come up much. You made a movie with Australian Claire Holt, Blue Like Jazz. You two,
Yeah.
you two should jump into a pilot episode or something. It'd make a good series.
She was
Detective.
great. She's also very nice. I really liked her a lot.
Yeah.
That was a funny movie. Yeah, she's wonderful. She's from Vampire Diaries? What was she on?
Yes. It's Brisbane. She's a Queenslander,
She's
I
from
think.
yeah. She's lovely.
Yeah.
Gosh.
No,
Yeah,
I've
I'm
seen
lucky. I've met some very cool people, in
you have.
this
You've
career.
worked with, I mean, even Scout Taylor Compton and Rumor Willis, like you're really, really, you know, everyone, obvious.
Scout Compton, who I think just directed her first feature or second feature, who's
You
directing
did.
now, and like a lot of these girls are like women are like making their own stuff. It's inspiring. It's fun.
How have you kept your longevity, you know, your looks, your physical fitness? Do you have any routines or any tips? Because you haven't changed. You said just, you know, even in
Thanks.
Lost, in 20 years, you watch you in Lost, right? I'll watch you in Lost and then watch you in Walden or Deep Blue Sea 3. You
Yeah.
haven't changed, Tanya.
Oh, thank you. That's such a relief. I'm
Good.
kind of immature in some ways. So I don't know if the mental affects the physical, but I
Okay.
appreciate the compliment. Thank you. I'm trying my best, nobody wants to get old. But like at the same time, I think it's an exciting time for all of us. And yeah, people are maybe a little less like fixated on looks in a way that maybe they used to be in Hollywood. It seems a little more fair in that
Yeah.
regard. But I want to look hot always, so thank you for the compliment.
Well, finish it off with a fun fact. Is there any thing that you do? Like, do you have a phobia or is there sort of a habit that you have that nobody knows about? Something you do on a regular basis?
Fear of flying, insane, debilitating fear of flying. Yeah,
You and
it
I are
makes my life hard.
similar.
You too?
Oh yeah. I've been asked to go and report at the Oscars and the BAFTAs and various sort of international film festivals over the years, but I'll do it, but I don't know when. I'm very scared of flying.
There's this new trend on the internet. I don't know what it is. I guess it's like these alpha male, these like tough dudes on the internet making these TikTok videos. And it's all about who can last the longest on a flight without any distractions. So, like, these guys will take videos of themselves. They won't eat any meals. They won't sleep. They won't listen to music. They won't read books. All they'll do is look at the flight path on the little screen until they land, even if it's like a 15-hour flight. And
Yeah.
everyone's making a joke about it, like it's like a proof of some kind of masculinity. I do that, but not. I do that
Wow.
because I'm so anxious that I can't distract myself with a book or a movie, or I'm like it's very bad. It also is getting worse as I'm getting older, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, mine's getting better as I get older, but
Oh
watching
yeah,
yeah,
show off.
I still cannot sit near a window, so I don't look out a window.
Oh
But
really? I'm the opposite. I have to be next to a window.
no,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not.
see, so we're different.
I don't know if I could watch the flight plan because then I'll know I'm in the air. I sort of just have headphones on and do whatever. I distract myself.
Yeah,
But that's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
And final
That's I
question:
don't know
when
if it's a
you
cool fact, but
look, it's better than planking. That was a thing for a while too. Planking.
you know who else is afraid of flying? Ryan Reynolds.
Yes, I believe so. So the three of us can all we all get a cruise sometime. That might
Yeah,
be.
exactly. I'd love that.
Finally, when you go to the movies or when you're watching a movie at home, any snacks, go-to snacks or something you eat no matter what?
I don't do popcorn at home. I find that weird. Like I'm gonna eat popcorn at a
At the
cinema, but not.
movies, yeah.
Yeah, what I like to have my drinks, like multiple, not alcoholic drinks, but like a hot tea or a coffee and a fizzy drink like a soda, and maybe then some still water and have my selection. Also, my phone nearby in case I want to Google somebody or look something up or get some trivia. Other than that, that's it. That's my ritual.
Besides your pilot, anything to look forward to that you can mention? Any exclusives to watch you in?
My most recent, let's see. Oh, I'm in a couple episodes of I've been working on Lincoln Lawyer, the new season. So that's a
Good,
show on Netflix and that
good
comes out
series.
soon, I think. Also, lovely group of people. Fellow Australian actor Angus on there.
Angus
Very
Sampson.
cool guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
from Mad Max. Sick movie. Loved it.
Uh,
Loved it.
every time we bump into each other, he's always gives me time. He'll talk to me, and he's really proud of Lincoln Lawyer. He's told me that in the past. So you're in good
He's
company.
such a nice guy, such a cool dude, and
Yeah.
such an epic performance in the Furiosa and in the Mad Max. He's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's it. That's the most recent thing, and then whoever knows what's next, I never know until they tell me. So we'll see.